and then I will have everyone that's attending today also introduce themselves. We'll give a brief overview of RemotEDx, the components of it, and then we'll go through the monitoring and support, the intro to CCIP, which is the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan, and that is the system where the majority of the grant work will take place, and then we'll have a question and answer period. We do have a lot of information to get through, so we're going to try to move as quickly as possible, but please make sure you stop us if you have any questions. So I will get started. I am Patty Gooseman. I am the program administrator for industry recognized credentials. Cassie Palsgrove and I share the responsibility of managing this RemotEDx grant. There are about 3 or 4 other RemotEDx grants going on. Obviously, this one is for improving access to industry recognized credentials for our students. So Cassie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep, absolutely. Sorry for those technical difficulties. I'm Cassie Palsgrove. I work in the Center for Teaching, Leading, and Learning at the Department of Education. And we kind of manage a portfolio of work around early college and early career opportunities for students. So we're really excited to learn from you all as you implement some of these remote industry recognized credential opportunities. Thanks for being here.
Emma, are you joining us today?
I am here, but I do not have access to my camera right now. Hi, my name's Emma Nicholson. I'm a program administrator for the industry recognized credentials. I work alongside Patty.
I don't think Sean was able to join us, but Cassie, do you want to let everyone know who Sean Yoder is?
Yeah, Sean Yoder is our Chief Strategy Officer, and he's kind of overseeing the implementation of RemotEDx in general. So, we're really excited about the opportunity to work with the RemotEDx Coordinating Council and other partners with this grant, and Sean leads the charge on that.
Sherry?
Hi, my name is Sherry Panizzo. I'm a member of the implementation unit here at the department. I'm helping with certain project management pieces on the RemotEDx project.
Marcia?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Marcia Ward. I am a project manager at the department, part of the implementation unit, and I'm providing support wherever they need me.
Brian?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Jones. I'm over the Office of Grants Administration, and I manage the CCIP, and we'll be the ones that will help you through the technical, any kind of technical questions you'll have with the e-grant system.
Jacqueline?
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Clark, and I'm with the Office of Learning and Instructional Strategies, and I will be helping with the uploads into CCIP.
Great. Well, that is our staff that is attending right now. If we can advance the slide, then we will start our introductions of our subgrantees who we're celebrating the projects that you are getting ready to start, and we would like for you all to introduce yourselves. If you can just give your name and organization. We can just go down the list that's listed here, starting with Battelle. Again, lead applicant and eligible applicant can introduce themselves, name and organization, and we'll keep moving through that since we have a little bit of time. So is anyone here from Battelle?
Yes, hi. Excuse me, this is Heather Sherman, the director of the Ohio STEM Learning Network. Thank you for this opportunity. We're really looking forward to getting started on this work with Kenton and all the other partners.
Great. Is anyone from Kenton here?
Yes, my name is Jennifer Penzarski, and I'm the superintendent at Kenton City Schools.
Great. Business Advisory Council of the Mahoning County Educational Service Center.
Yes, this is Sandy Farano. I'm the director, one of the directors at Mahoning County Educational Service Center, and also lead our BAC.
Great. Champaign County Family YMCA. Or the Educational Service Center at Mahoning. I'm sorry, Madison Champaign. Okay. Is anyone from Edu Everything on the call?
Yeah, this is Rich Ramey from Tri Rivers. It's a part of Edu Everything.
Great. Lorraine County Community College.
Good afternoon. This is Deanna Strauss-Hersko and Cindy Kushner from the Office of School and Community Partnerships representing LCCC.
Great. Muskingum Valley Business Advisory Council.
Hi there, this is Amy Luby with Muskingum Valley Business Advisory Council and the Muskingum Valley ESC, and we are so delighted to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, moving on, about Northwest Career Ready.
Yes, my name is Ron Schumacher. I'm president at Terra State Community College.
Wonderful, welcome. Ohio After School Network. Or Perry Local? Okay. What about the Ohio Association of Career Technical Superintendents?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Perry Local is here.
Oh.
Betty Jo Malcheski is here as Assistant Superintendent, Lou Gallant as a CFO, and Jen Capo as the Assistant Treasurer.
Great, thank you. Is anyone here from the Ohio Association of Career Technical Superintendents?
Yeah, this is Dennis Frank. I'm speaking for Maggie Hess, who is the Executive Director of the Ohio Association of Career Tech Superintendents, OACS. And I'm Dennis Franks. I'm the Superintendent of Pickaway Ross Career Technology Center, the lead applicants. We consist of about 6 of the career centers statewide. I'm looking forward to learning and sharing a lot of the success we're going to have with this project.
Thank you, Dennis. Ohio Means Jobs, Belmont County.
Hi, this is Lori Robeson. I'm the Executive Director of Educational Services at East Central Ohio ESC in partnership with our Ohio Means Job Belmont County. We are thrilled to bring this to our 7 school districts in Belmont County. We have on the call our Student Programming Director, 2 of our career navigators who are also leads of our 2 business advisory councils through the ESC.
Great, thank you. Welcome everyone. What about Ottawa County Business Advisory Council? Or North Point? Okay. Well, I would have loved to have everyone give a little project overview of their proposals, but unfortunately we just did not have enough time for that. But I did provide the link at the bottom of the last slide that will actually lead you to the project summaries for all of the grantees. So you can feel free to look that over whenever, there we go, on the RemotEDx page whenever you have a moment. So we did have 49 applications submitted, and that was a total of 6.5 million requested. We did award grants from $128,000 up to $150,000, which was the maximum available per grant. I just want to provide that some of those stats for you, just to kind of give you an indication of you know, selecting 11 out of 49 was extremely hard. We had wonderful applications, wonderful ideas, and you guys stood out as the best that came through. So congratulations, and I will turn this over to Cassie Palsgrove.
So we always like to make sure that everyone's connected to the grander ecosystem of RemotEDx and how our individual work will play into the bigger picture here. So there's 4 primary components, just as a reminder, of RemotEDx. One leg of RemotEDx is around connectivity champions. So there was about $2 million that were given in funding to help schools and students get rid of those connectivity and device barriers that are limiting their ability to participate in remote, hybrid, and blended educational experiences. The primary partner there is the Management Council and then your ITCs, so your Information Technology Centers. The next kind of leg or the next component of RemotEDx is around the exchange, and we're going to talk very briefly about that today. We would eventually like all of you to have some type of a submission into the RemotEDx exchange, which is essentially a electronic sharing of resources so that everyone in the state has access to, you know, learn lessons from this work that we're going to do together. One thing in particular we want to look at is being able to share use case scenarios in the exchange, which is where we think you all will be able to play an important role. And again, it's really a information hub for high quality remote education experiences. So we'll talk a little more about that today. There was $2 million in funding, and our primary partner to host the RemotEDx exchange is InfoHio. The next component is around the support squad. So we realize things like the exchange and just generally remote education is a concept that people have struggled with. So we're going to we're going to ask folks in educational service centers to help navigate things like the exchange, connecting to the connectivity champions. So the support squad is really a solutions focused technical assistance group through your educational service centers that will help folks navigate the world of remote learning, hybrid learning, including the information that's on the exchange. Lastly, and this is an up and coming opportunity, the RemotEDx group is looking to develop network learning communities. And we have a lot of partners that are working on developing these learning communities. And the goal really is to bring all partners together to learn more and support in a professional learning academies setting. So hopefully as time goes on and these things are stood up, we have an important role to play in developing these network academies to be thinking about some career-focused education and perhaps even implementing industry-recognized credentials as a part of those network learning academies. So be on the lookout for more information around that. Next, we have a more updated graphic that kind of takes these major components of RemotEDx and puts them in perspective. So you won't necessarily see our grant listed here, but what we hope happens is that the results of this grant can be used in the exchange, can be used to inform some of the network learning communities, and then ultimately that the support squad would be prepared to help point districts in the right direction if, let's say, there are some opportunities to professionally develop folks on issuing credentials in a remote setting. So we're really hoping that your all group here can help us, put some materials into the exchange related to credentials and flesh out some of those more professional learning focused targets around credentials in each of these components. So if you're ever needing to explain what RemotEDx is to any of your constituents or how they can access or benefit from RemotEDx, this is the major ways in which to do that. Are there any questions on RemotEDx or kind of the big holistic picture? The goal here is that it will outlive the pandemic and really prepare schools and families across the state really to kind of reimagine the future of education in Ohio. So we are anxious to get some use cases out there on how these pieces can work in a remote setting. Any questions on that? Okay, back to you, Patty.
Thank you, Cassie. There are a couple components from now until the end of the grant that will take place. So one of them is monitoring. Part of that is, we have to make sure that you are, completing the activities and events that you had indicated that you would use the grant funds for, and that you are serving the students and teachers in the community that you serve. But also we are here to provide you support in helping make that happen. So Cassie and I are kind of your initial go-tos per se for any technical assistance or any questions that you have. We will help you work with the system, the CCIP system, or just answer general questions or help you make connections or anything that you might need as you progress through the grant cycle. You should have received a toolkit, a monitoring toolkit yesterday with the reminder for the kickoff today. If you did not receive that, you can place something in the chat and let me know, and I can forward that on to you. Or you can send an email to our RemotEDx irc@education.ohio.gov inbox. And that is, of course, the inbox that you will have received almost everything from, and that we basically track all of the communications in that box, and it's just one local place for us to keep everything. So while Cassie and I do have personal emails that you you are more than welcome to have. We do prefer that that inbox is used. If you can you go back one slide? So that's the monitoring toolkit that you should have received. I'm trying to manage off of 2 screens, so I'm not sure when Cassie's advancing. So, okay, you can go ahead, next slide. So these are the performance criteria that's also placed into that monitoring toolkit. It's also within the RemotEDx request for applications. We do provide this to you so you know the expectations that we have for accomplishing your goals, and delivering the content that you had proposed to us and that was approved for access to the funds. I'm not going to go ahead and read through all of those because that toolkit does contain that. So again, based on that performance criteria, that is how we will monitor and make sure that you're compliant with all of the activities that you had said that you were going to complete. There is a interim activities report that is due September 1st of this year. And then there's a final grant activities report that is due September 1st of 2022. So as part of the support that we're going to provide, we will provide quarterly virtual meetings. These are the dates that is also located in that toolkit. Ahead of the actual quarterly virtual meetings, we will send out a questionnaire for you to provide back to us. The agendas will be driven by the answers to your questions.
And one thing we want to make sure that this monitoring process, and especially those quarterly meetings, do is to also give us an opportunity to share and learn from each other. And that will be, obviously we want technical assistance to be a key component of those quarterly meetings to make sure that you're able to draw down your funds and that the money's being spent according to your budget and budget narrative. We also want to make sure that you have a chance to learn from each other in this. Maybe more importantly is we have a chance to learn from you in this too. We know that you all are the boots on the ground and the experts in these fields, and we know that we're kind of playing in uncharted waters with this grant. And so it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't learn a lot from each other in this process. So here's some things to keep in mind, that we really need these quarterly meetings to have the correct people in attendance. So if you're not necessarily the best fit to give a program update on how the implementation of your fill in the blank credential is going, make sure that those implementation partners are on these calls as well, so that we can have a very clear section of the agenda to share out progress and learn from each other. Many of you are planning to implement the same credentials in different parts of the state. So you're really going to have a chance to say, hey, we're doing MSSC. I noticed you are too. How are you implementing this one section of training for this, credential competency? So we really, again, want our quarterly meetings to have a place to get to that level of detail of implementation and information sharing. In these quarterly meetings, as time progresses and when it's appropriate, we also want to share how that process of putting things into the RemotEDx exchange will look. We're really thinking that you all can be kind of a pilot for the use case scenarios that will be there. And in terms of what that product looks like, we're thinking like success story videos, maybe even a PDF type of a use case scenario that says, we implemented this credential in a remote setting. Here's some lessons we learned from that. Here's some tips to get started. I know there were some questions that came in with your applications around how will we ever share proprietary information in the RemotEDx exchange. It's really going to be more about reporting and giving suggestions and advice to folks that may be interested in doing something similar. So again, we'll go through that in our quarterly meetings together. And I see a question in the chat around who should participate in those. So really, it's the people that are implementing the programmings and your fiscal person that's going to be monitoring the progress towards spending down funds, and then really anyone else that may have a question or need some technical assistance on a particular item. Again, this grant was really meant to promote partnership. So if you're the lead applicant with an eligible group of schools, so if you're a business advisory council, for example, someone from that eligible applicant organization should also be participating in addition to that lead applicant. So again, this is really meant to build some partnerships here. I hope that answered the question. Are the times available for the quarterly meeting dates yet?
Yeah, I haven't set those yet, but sometime by Friday I should be sending out meeting invites for all of those quarterly meetings.
Awesome. And then eventually, once the network academies get stood up throughout the RemotEDx work, you know, the one way that we can foresee ensuring that industry recognized credentials and career focused education is a priority, even in a remote setting, is by having you all, the experts, participate in these network learning academies. So we really hope that you'll consider participating in those as they get fleshed out. We'll use our quarterly virtual meetings together to kind of brief you or update you on those opportunities as they unfold. Okay. Any questions on the learning and sharing part of our quarterly meetings? Okay, thank you all.
Well, and to let you all know on the next slide, we recognize that each subgrantee has their own timeline of activities and events. We will have the same questions across the board, but if, you know, we are not grading you on those answers. We're looking for informative answers. So if you can provide what you have either done so far, plan to do, maybe a reason why, you know, it's like, oh, it's upcoming, or it's planned for March, or, you know, whatever the case may be, just providing us something to answer those questions and let us know, like, just where you are in the process, you know, of implementing your plan. Okay. So the next portion of the presentation is targeted to the fiscal agents for this grant. It will be a brief overview that will touch on several important sections. This webinar would be far longer if the full instruction for using the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan, the CCIP, was presented. So I believe that most of the fiscal agents, at least on the call for this grant, are probably familiar with the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan. But if a more in-depth training is needed for you, I would ask that you send a message to that general email that I talked about, the RemotEDx IRC, and let me know. And then I will schedule a training, you know, as needed, as soon as possible. And I encourage all participants on the call to actually stay and hear the full presentation, just so everybody's on the same page and just hears everything that the fiscal agent is going to have to do. So there's kind of three components I'm going to talk about. One is the OHID, and that is the state security portal. It provides secure system authorization and authentication, allowing access to individuals for the system. One of these systems that of course, the most important system that we're going to be talking about is that Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan. That Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan is used to manage grants, and that's from application entry through award, reimbursement of you know, funds, and then final expenditure reports. OEDS, that's the Ohio Education Directory System. It's used by the department to manage organizations and associated personnel with those organizations. For this grant, the two main roles for CCIP is CCIP fiscal representative and CCIP authorized representative. These two roles are responsible for approving the application through the system, through the CCIP system. So Many of you probably will recognize the compliance system. That is not one of the components I'm going to talk about, because we did not have you initially submit applications through the CCIP, nor are we doing the compliance in the compliance system. We are doing that also outside of our systems. Those reports that questionnaires and reports that we've talked about, those are being submitted through that RemotEDx IRC inbox. I think do we have any questions that I need to address yet?
I think we're doing good, Patty. We're kind of having some sidebars. One question is around the use of the RemotEDx logo. Deanna, I can't imagine that there's going to be an issue with that, especially since you are the recipient of a subgrant, but let us get like a very clear yes from our legal and communications team on that.
Excuse me. Okay. Next slide, Cassie. Okay. So anyone that interacts with a state agency in Ohio can have an OHID account. This is how the fiscal agents will access the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan. And if you do not have an account, you would create one here. Most of those fiscal agents should already have an OHID account, as well as an IRN, an individual. Can't remember what IRN stands for. Individual retrieval number, I believe. That is specific to the Ohio Department of Education. Keep in mind that the OHID accounts are specific to you, to the individual, and shouldn't be shared with anyone. It is not an organization-based account. The link to your organization for use with the department systems happens in that Ohio Education Directory system. Employment by the fiscal agent does not guarantee that you will have an OHID account or have the appropriate role for working in that CCIP system. Next slide. So after successfully logging in, you will be taken to the OHID landing page. From here, you can manage your account and access any sites and systems that apply to you. Sometimes, they're referred to as applications, and I always think of them as like apps on your phone, and you have to request access to certain apps. So for the purpose of this grant, everything will be taken care of through the CCIP system. So when you click on the sites and applications to view the system that you have access to, which would be CCIP, there you go. If you have multiple pages of applications, you will see the paging button in blue, which will allow you to kind of browse through the available applications. The applications do appear in alphabetical order. If there's an application that you want to always appear on your dashboard for easy access, you just click on that star icon to make it one of your favorites. After you have found the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan, you can click on the Go To Site link. So after clicking on the CCIP link, you'll be taken to the homepage for CCIP. There are several things on this page that we should address. One is always be sure that your name appears below that left menu. If your name is not there, you might not be properly logged in. So two, the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan has a 30-minute timeout. So the session timer up there in that right-hand corner will tell you how long you have until you must log in again. The timer does reset at 30 minutes with each save or page change. If you click on the save after the timer has gone to 0, the information you entered will not save. So it is important that you monitor that time limit. The third component I want to talk about is the announcements and reminders right there in the center of the page. That is updated by department program staff. Occasionally you may find something about RemotEDx information here, but the primary area, which I will cover later, for grant-specific announcements will be through the CCIP history log. And like, again, I'll show that to you later on. So the fourth component, you will use that left menu to navigate through the CCIP system. Most of the time, you'll probably be using the search button. The fiscal agent may have other active grants, though. So to access the RemotEDx industry recognized credentials grant, and that's important that you maybe write that down or take note of that, because when you go to search for the grant to enter in the application, you have to search for RemotEDx industry recognized credentials grant, and you'll hover over the funding and then click the funding applications from that left-hand menu. So all of the following snippets I'm going to let you know are just examples of what you will see. So that RemotEDx industry recognized credentials grant is not visible yet. You will see that on Friday. It's kind of a little bit different. It's a little bit, since we didn't do the application initially through the CCIP system, I will do an allocation load tomorrow using the IRNs that I had you double check. I did get one change, and I did change that. So once I do the allocation upload of your grant funds, it processes overnight, and then on Friday you will be able to actually see the grant application to access. The funding applications page is the home page for all active applicants. Before moving forward, verify that the organization is correct, the fiscal year is correct, which is 2021. And then after the system rolls over to fiscal year 2022, which should take place, I believe, July 1st, in a few months, you will need to change the year to 2022. I think you have to change it to 2022 at that point. Marcia, is that correct?
This grant will remain in 2021. So if when you get to this screen, it automatically has changed it to 2022, you'll need to change it back to 2021 to get to your grant.
I knew it was something like that. Something was going to happen. If the organization is incorrect, you'll need to check with the Ohio Education Directory System setup. If you have the CCIP, if you have CCIP related Ohio Education Directory System roles for multiple schools or organizations, you will need to select the one that you are working on, which would be our grant, before moving forward, and the organization, correct organization. All grants for which your organization has been awarded or may qualify for will be listed there. This is normally based on the OED's organization types, such as public district, non-public, education service center, and some others. For the purpose of this grant, only the information retrieval numbers, or IRNs for this grant's fiscal agents will be uploaded into the CCIP plan. The status of each of those grant applications would be listed, and they should say not started. And then you'd click on the RemotEDx Industry Recognized Grants Credentials Grant link to access the actual application and then its various sections. So the sections page is the home page for your subgrant. Anytime you are unclear as to where you are, you can return to the sections page. But the first rule of the CCIP is to never use the back button. Always use the navigation available in the application itself, either the left menu or any of the available links on the page. After going to another page, there will always be that go to button, which will allow you to navigate to other areas of the grant or return to this page. Your organization and grant information is displayed at the top of the page. It is always a good idea to verify that you're working on the correct grant. This area lists the organization name and information retrieval numbers, so your IRN, your county, the fiscal year, the grant name, and the revision that you're working on. After a grant has been approved, revisions can be made in order to modify your budget if necessary. In this case, we are working in revision 0, which is your original application. I do want to point out a few other important sections, such as the history log, allocations, budget, contacts, and assurances. The assurances found in the system are very similar to the grant-specific assurances that were submitted with your applications. These assurances, though, are based on federal guidelines and are a part of all federally funded grants in the system. So these will have to be signed off on as well. So the first is the history log. The history log is the message center for your grant. It provides a way to communicate with the department and to record various information related to the grant. I think you may have to advance a slide. Yep, history log. Okay, one more. There we go. So, as I mentioned, this is the message center used for any grant. You may have to advance one more slide because I think we'll start seeing circles. All right, messages displayed on this page are specific to an item associated with the grant. So in this case, you'll see that, it's in revision 0, the original application. If another revision is created, a new history log will be created. A history log is also created for each project cash request, sometimes referred to as PCRs, in your final expenditure report, or FERs. I want to point out that the CCIP final expenditure report is different than the final activities report that you will be submitting through email in September of 2022. So this is for financial reasons. The other one is for activities. And then you can view all status or comments link to see all of the grant comments. So history log comments are created by the system automatically when there is a status change. Other comments are created by appropriate users at the department or the fiscal agent. So it could be me, it could be Marcia, it could be Cassie, or someone at your fiscal agent. So one of the schools that, or ESCs or so forth, one of those organizations can also create history logs. Anyone that has the appropriate role, that is, can add a comment. So in this example, the only comments you can see to date were created by the department. The comments are normally listed in chronological order, unless there's a check in the attention needed box. If an entry is checked, it will stay at the top of the list of comments regardless of how many you add. If you enter a question that needs attention in the history log, I highly recommend that you also email the RemotEDx IRC at education.ohio.gov. You will receive an answer probably much quicker that way, but whoever answers the question will respond by email, but then record the answer in that history log for you as well. Yeah. So we're going back to the sections page. And to do that, you simply hover over save and you go to, and the go to display the flyout menu that was before. Then you click on the sections. There you go. So you can see the different sections there. You can see that you can go directly to other sections of the grant as well. So they're all kind of listed there. So the next section I want to talk about is allocations. The resulting page will list allocations associated with the grant. If your allocation changes for any reason, which we don't anticipate, but that will be indicated on the allocations page. The next section on the page is the heart of your application, where you will enter your budget and upload all of the required documents, and we'll get to that shortly here. For now, we can move on to contacts. So the contacts page is simple, but very important. You cannot submit your budget and documentation until you have selected a contact from your list of eligible personnel. The list of available personnel is based on that Ohio Education directory system rules for your organization. If you attempt to submit your application without a contact, you'll receive an error message. So we'll go back to that sections page. The current status of the application is listed at the top of the sections page. So on the first time into the system, it will say not started. To begin entering your application, you have to click on the draft started link. When you click on that link, you will receive a confirmation window, and then you click OK. If you are unable to upload any documents or save your budget changes, the first thing you should do is verify the application status. Changes can be made to your application information only when it is in the draft started or revision started status. A revision is used only if you need to do a budget revision after your initial budget has been approved. So we verified the application status has changed to draft started. It is now in a state that you will that will allow you to complete the listed application sections. You will use that budget and upload view documents links, and we can get started with the budget. When you click on that link, you'll be directed to the budget page. And this should look familiar because this was the same grid that was provided to you within the application. You will need to enter your budget on this page as well. So the budget you provided to us will be entered here. You will see your allocation and remaining amounts. The allocation matches your award, and then the remaining amount will change as you enter budget numbers to indicate how much is remaining to be budgeted. So if your intent is to utilize the entire award amount, which should be the case, your remaining amount should be 0 when you're finished with all your entries. You will enter your information in the appropriate object and purpose codes, and your application will be returned if the budget is not accurate, though. So the next step is to enter in your application is to upload your required documents. So you cannot draw down funds until your application is reviewed and approved by the department. You must enter the CCIP plan budget, so is the budget grid that we just showed you, and then upload these documents that are listed here in order for your application to be approved in the system. We do ask for a PDF version of everything, so you'll upload your initial application and any of the supporting documents. Some people submitted additional information along with their application. Some did not, which is fine. But we ask that you put all that together into one document. We also ask that you upload your signed grant specific assurances that you had submitted with your application separately. And then we also ask that your a PDF of all your partnership letters or agreement, whichever one you decided to go with, is also uploaded separately. To submit your application for review, it must be an authorized representative approved status. So from the sections page, after entering your budget and uploading all required documents, you will change the status from draft started to draft completed, then to fiscal representative approved, and finally to authorized representative approved. Only someone in your organization with the associated role in the OEDS, the Ohio Education Directory System, can make each of those status changes. So after your application has been reviewed and approved by the department, you are ready to draw down funds using a project cash request or a PCR. Now, we did not have time today to cover project cash requests or final expenditure reports. If the fiscal agent needs help with that or anything or diving into CCIP further, I want you to reach out to that inbox, the RemotEDx irc@education.ohio.gov, and let me know, and then we can schedule that training for those organizations as soon as possible.
Patty, you have a question.
Oh, okay. When will this grant be in CCIP? So you will have access to it on Friday. Yep, Friday you will have access to it. You should be able to upload all those documents and so forth, fill out your budget grid. If you have any problems though, I mean, and if it moves on into the next week, that's fine. Again, we'll try to set up any kind of training that's necessary as soon as possible. Yes, and I think Cassie's providing some technical assistance. Yep. If you need technical assistance, please email our inbox. So although your application is for fiscal year 2021, your funds do not need to be fully obligated until June of 2022. That means you have to have Marsha, help me out. You need to have like a receipt or invoice.
Are you talking about to draw down, correct?
Well, yeah, we talked about the June 2022 obligation of funds. I was trying to give them some examples of how they can obligate those funds.
A purchase order is an obligation. Anything that a contract would be considered an obligation.
Yep.
Brian, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so in general, an obligation is something that it's basically it's an expense you've incurred that's going to be eligible against this particular grant. So you're talking about invoices. If you have an invoice, works complete, you've got some work completed or you've got services delivered, that would be an obligation. If you have a contract, once the contract's signed, that sets the obligation. Purchase services normally, a purchase order normally is not an obligation, but it's part of the internal control package. So we would look at all that as well. But those are the kind of things for obligations.
Yep. And then you have to make sure that those funds have been fully expended by September 30th of 2022. So for the purposes of this grant, your CCIP final expenditure report is not due until September 30th of 2022. However, other reporting may be requested throughout the life of the grant. So we have some quick links that we're going to provide these slides to you. So we're going to provide the presentation to you as well as a link to the recorded session. We're going to provide that by email. I don't know if we can. We're going to try to maybe get that posted by Friday. As far as the the presentation that's been recorded into YouTube, but if not, it should be early next week, and we'll send out the email as soon as we have that link for you. But for right now, these are some general quick links for you for different information that you can, if you didn't get enough information from today's presentation, then you can also use these. I'm going to send out this presentation hopefully still today, if not tomorrow, so that you have access to these links and the information contained in the presentation. And then I will try to get that link to the actual recorded version of this Friday or early next week. And then I did provide a contact slide. So here's our email, the inbox that we've been mentioning all along. Cassie, she's our grant administration on this. I'm going to help you with the monitoring pieces and the CCIP. If I cannot answer questions or Cassie cannot answer questions, we will find someone who can answer those questions. You try to give us like 24 to 48 hours to respond back to you. I did, provide my personal email through the department as a plan B. So we may have experienced a slight hiccup in our inbox at one point that we did not catch for about 2 weeks. And so I wanted to provide this to you. So if you don't hear back from us within 48 hours or so, please email me directly just to make sure that everything is okay and I can respond back to you. So I know people have been putting questions in the chat box. Does anybody have any additional questions that they would like to ask for the greater good or put in the chat box, and we can definitely answer them.
Sherry, it looks like your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm putting it up for someone else. The question was raised, who should participate in quarterly meetings? I'm not sure if you answered that one or not.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. So it should be someone from your eligible applicant organization. So if you're a business advisory council or a career tech planning district, so it should be someone who's representing that group. and then or a nonprofit, and then also from the lead organization. So the quarterly meetings are going to be both programmatic in nature, so that we're learning from each other, but then also technical in nature. So if you've got a fiscal agent that has a technical CCIP type question, so really whoever's implementing the program side of the grant, someone from your lead and eligible applicants, and then also someone that's working within the CCIP that maybe has some technical questions, that should be who comes to the quarterly meetings.
Right, and I'll send out questionnaires ahead of time, and then I'll ask for them prior to the meeting, and I will set an agenda. If there is a common theme or issue or problem or question that comes through those questionnaires, then I will form the agenda around that, as well as, again, that time for support for you as well.
Do fiscal people need to be on quarterly meetings if they have a question, or should they always be on?
I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys. I'm not going to require people, every single person that's involved with this, to attend. I think the idea is if there is a common problem that is shared, and maybe if I can't answer it, maybe somebody else in the from that fiscal agent knows the answer to that question. If not, I can always go back to our group and request an answer. It's also a good place to, I don't want to say network. Network's not the right word, but share information and ideas. Sure. If the fiscal agent can't attend or does not want to attend to each one, that is up to you. If you don't think that they're needed, then maybe at least attend the first one to see how well or how much information they gather from it, and then maybe decide after that, because there will be, I think we have 4 or 5 scheduled for that.
This is Betty Jo at excuse me, I'm sorry, Betty Jo Malcheski at Perry, and I am wondering, aligned to other grants that we've had similarly from ODE, I have found that many of these touch point conversations are so helpful. Quarterly meetings, for example, for programming and implementation and student related matters that we all share. I was just looking out for our fiscal folks, that I have found that these types of meetings really don't relate to their needs, and oftentimes they're on the line when they really don't need to be and have valuable time to be doing other things. But I'm new to this, so I certainly don't have the answers, but that's been my experience with grants so far.
Good to know.
Patty, it's Brian. Sorry, it's Brian. So I would think if you had an agenda, what you're going to cover in that quarterly meeting, over the 19 years I've run grants, some of the common questions I get are from treasurers or the CFOs, is just how they can have more communication to understand what some of the grants are about. So so I'm not going to say that anybody, a fiscal person, has to go to the meeting, but if you're a fiscal person and you don't, you still have questions about like what's going on with that grant, and I would recommend to attend the meeting. Maybe look at the agenda if there's agenda to see what it's about, that kind of thing. But a lot of times you'll be surprised that there's just a slight miscommunication between the program office and that fiscal. That maybe the budget revision wasn't done timely, and guess what? Those expenses wouldn't be allowable, right? Just those simple little communications. But Mary Jo, Betty Jo, you're absolutely right. Sometimes those meetings are all about the program office, the program, and sometimes the fiscal. It's not a waste of their time, but it's not as fruitful as one would want.
Yeah. Oh, and let me ask you guys this. This thought just popped into my head, so you're the first to hear it, and maybe it's crazy, but Betty Jo and others that are willing to weigh in, would it ever be useful that, like, let's say our quarterly meetings are an hour, like, would it ever be useful to actually just like have you start in your grant teams with your fiscal person for perhaps like the first 15 minutes, and it gives you guys a chance to huddle first, and then we have the rest of the 45-minute touch base? Just tell me if that's a bad idea, though.
Oh, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think that we typically schedule those like quarterly on our own here anyway but anything, more communication is always helpful. But like I said, I think it's best, and like Brian said, I think it's best for us just to peek in on the agenda and then let our fiscal officers attend if the topics are related to them. And then, yeah.
Yeah. That's
yeah,
fine.
that's fine. Yeah, we're not making it mandatory for them to attend, so we'll leave it up to you guys of how you guys want to, invite your fiscal agents.
And then Betty Jo, to answer your question in the chat, we can definitely hang on. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, let's say yeah. I just saw that.
Does anyone have any technical questions related to CCIP? If not, I think it might be really beneficial for us to just open the mic and talk a little bit about which credentials you all are planning to implement so that we get a good networking opportunity here to kind of end on. So I see at least one other question coming in. What might be helpful is we know when the budget conversations will take place in the meeting and make sure that our fiscal folks are here for that. So we can send out an agenda ahead of time to you all. That way you can make the invite to your fiscal folks. We can definitely do that. Yep, and at the beginning of the agenda, we can definitely do that. I see Brad has his hand up. Go ahead, Brad. Maybe he got excited about the function and just wanted to try it out. Or Brad, if you're talking, you're muted. Yeah.
How about now? You hear me now?
There we go. There you are.
All right, thank you. Once the grants in the CCIP portal, can multiple individuals from our organization make edits on the grant, or is it just one individual in regards to the upload of necessary information regarding the grant? And then, and I guess my question is, can one individual do that, and then another individual take care of the project cash request?
I might defer to Brian. My assumption, my assumption is that so you're not really making any changes. Like once you upload everything and it goes through the approval process, you really shouldn't have to change anything in the system. The application is just like that initial application you submit to us is just an upload of those documents to keep them in one place, for your grant specific page, if you will. And then the way, you shouldn't even have any budget changes, unless, and if you do, then you just have to let us know, and I think we have to probably turn something back, but I'll let Brian go.
So yeah, so it just depends on what you're trying to do. So like a project cash request, I believe, I just don't know what the role is. I believe someone can start it, but only the treasurer / CFO can submit the cash request. So that's the one. And then when it comes to the final expenditure report, same scenario. I think someone can start it. I just don't know the role, but that's just to get it started. But only for the final expenditure report as well, only the treasurer can submit it, but then the superintendent or CFO can finalizes it. So those are the two control points in place. And then when it comes to like the overall, I think this application's on the outside of CCIP. So really all that work is being done, and then it's the actual document is uploaded into the CCIP. If you were doing a budget revision, I believe, again, I think one person can start it, but then the CFO / treasurer would approve it, and then it would also go to the superintendent CEO. So multiple people can start it, but only certain people can finish it. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. And then I see Rich has his hand up too.
Yeah, my question, I didn't have a question. Did you want us to talk about our credentials, or I can wait if anybody else has questions on that?
I think a couple of things. One, we have about half an hour, and if everybody can remain on for that full half hour, it might be actually a good time that if we can actually share about a little 2-minute blurb about each project and the credentials that you're covering within that plan, that might be helpful. And we can go back to that slide that has all of the awardees listed, and we can just go down that list starting with Patel.
Okay.
Yep, I think that would be the best way to handle it, Patty. So let's make sure. Does anyone else have any technical questions before we kick that off?
Looks like someone has their hand raised.
I don't see anyone with a hand raised. I could be missing it.
Somebody Ketan Patel says no sound. They can't hear us?
Maybe they have.
I think Heather was able to speak at least the last time once, so I don't know if Heather would be willing to kick us off.
Yeah.
I don't put you on the spot.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So our focus is on doable credentials to try to help people see that this is, totally feasible. And I'm going to actually punt to Michelle to give us the list of credentials that we're working on.
It looks like Michelle might be the one that has the inability to talk.
Okay, well, hang on one second.
Heather, this might be the most helpful. We have in your project summaries that you all turned in that are on the webpage now, we kind of tried to at least start listing some of those for you. So I don't know if you just want to go off of this description perhaps, and it looks like this particular grant is focusing a lot on the pre-apprenticeship certificates.
Yes, we are definitely working with pre-apprenticeship, and we want to think about classified employees that wind up in schools, which I think is really interesting. And I have the checklist here. We're looking at OSHA 10 and 30. And I don't think I can scroll fast enough. So I'm sorry. In another minute, I'll look and I'll raise my hand and let you call on me again if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's the danger of going first. We should have let Rich go. He was all ready.
Right?
Michelle is commenting, though, saying 12-point pre-apprenticeship certificates in 8 districts. Okay. How about the Business Advisory Council of Mahoning County?
Yes, I'm here. This is Sandy Floriano. We are working with approximately 11 school districts to implement an industry recognized credential under the Carpenters Association. So this will give students industry recognized credentials in the Career Connection certificate and also in the Ohio State Apprenticeship Council certificate. So districts will be able to earn up to 24 industry recognized credential points. So we're working right now with 11 of our school districts to start this process. Some are turning their woodshop classes and just gonna kind of redo their curriculum a little bit so they adopt the Career Connections certificate program, and some are starting from scratch, trying to find that room and that teacher to kick off this pre-apprenticeship. So our partners are the Ohio Joint Carpenters Apprenticeship and also our local Builders Association. So we're excited about this, and we're excited because the districts that we're working with are really enthused about this opportunity.
That's great, and it looks like there's already a connection there. So between Kenton and your group, the pre-apprenticeship seems to be a focus. That's neat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Rich. It's all you now.
Okay, well, thank you. Our group, Edu Everything, is working with various schools throughout Ohio, and America Makes and Tooling U to deliver the CAM-F additive manufacturing credential to hundreds of students around the state over the next 18 months. And we're also working with Tooling U and America Makes on some additional credentials that they're developing right now. So we're going to pilot some programs for them as well. So it's really a nice collaboration between public and private partnerships and various schools throughout Ohio. Some are STEM schools, some are public schools, some are career centers. So it's a really nice setup for us, I think, our group. And we have Edu Everything, Tad Dowse, and I forgot to introduce him earlier, Tad Dowse and Brad Potcutter from Everything. And then Dustin Piles from VASA is the other key partner on helping deliver this credential throughout Ohio.
And I might ask you all if you could, and maybe this is repetitive for the group, so forgive me if it is, but I think this concept of Industry 4.0 is pretty interesting. So if you wouldn't mind giving like a 2-second on what Industry 4.0
Well, I could give you a little more too, but Industry 4.0, we've been working in robotics and automation for about the last 35 years in this country. Industry 4.0 is taking the digital side and connecting everything together to do the digital analysis, and you have artificial intelligence involved, big data, everything it takes to take a process and actually, get all the feedback to where you can remotely run the manufacturing model. So there's a lot to it as we're delivering it throughout the country, but Ohio definitely is in the lead on Industry 4.0 education. And what we're trying to do is develop a better delivery model so that we're never going to find enough experts to deliver 1.5 million manufacturing technicians that we need in this country. But if we can build a better mousetrap to deliver those credentials, we're going to get a lot of those workers in Ohio, and we're always going to lead the nation.
Awesome.
Part of our goal. No, nothing big.
No big deal. Yeah. Just put Ohio on the map.
The governor has championed. He said that he wants Ohio to be the #1 industry manufacturing training state in the nation. So,
well, and quite a few of you have manufacturing related credentials. So, this being able to collect or being able to communicate the collective impact of these dollars and the way that you're thinking creatively about remote learning for credentials, I think is going to be unique and things that national organizations are going to pay attention to. So thank you for that. Okay. Lorain County Community College.
All right, good afternoon. Really excited to share with you a little bit about the grant that we have pulled together with our Educational Service Center as well as a few select high schools. Our industry partners are 2 sector partnerships. So we're working with the Lorain County Manufacturing Sector Partnership and then the Regional IT Engagement Board. They're also known as RIGHT. Out of the Greater Cleveland Partnership. So we are focusing predominantly on manufacturing and IT careers, but we also have several in healthcare and business that we're focusing on. This grant really aligned well to the vision and mission of our institution, where we know that in our county, in order to meet the governor's objectives, we need to be preparing the next generation of students for emerging and in-demand jobs. And we know that we need to do that by getting them connected early to industry recognized credentials, to earn and learn models, and making sure, most importantly, that we're breaking down those barriers and creating opportunities for students, meeting them where they are while providing them with these opportunities. So we have created a couple of programs that will focus specifically on delivering this content to students who are kind of in between. They're not your students that are doing dual enrollment. They didn't go to a career center to participate in CTE. But these are students that if we could get them skilled in a short-term industry recognized credential, we could place them into high-wage, high-skill careers. So we are really looking forward to our Commodore Striving Towards Equitable Pathways program that we're going to be launching. And additionally, we're going to be connecting this work to our Building IT Futures program, which is supported by the U.S. Department of Education, Perkins 5 Innovation and Modernization Grant, as well as our local college tech prep programs, and really looking at our CCP population of students who are taking classes that make them eligible to take those industry recognized credential exams. So figuring out how can we help them see that next step and get them there. So we are really excited for what's to come and are so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you both.
Thanks, Dina. That was great. Thank you. All right, Muskingum Valley.
Hi there, this is Amy Luby at Muskingum Valley, and we are so excited to bring the Elder Care Certificate to our region. We worked with our Business Advisory Council to really, and our top jobs sort of data to identify some of those credentials that could go a long way in a variety of industries and fields, especially healthcare, which is all perennially a top job in our region. And so we will be developing a comprehensive program to support students who are earning that elder care certificate, which is a 4-point credential, a 16-hour course, 4-point credential, and then helping them secure employment in related fields following graduation with an awareness campaign and some employer commitments around committing to guaranteed interviews for students that have that credential and are looking for jobs in those fields. So we're working with 6 area high schools, 2 of which are career centers, and we will be helping hopefully more than 160 students earn that credential. We're also partnering with Leading Age Ohio, Genesis Healthcare System, several of our long-term care facilities across the 6-county region, and building bridges to careers.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Northwest Ready.
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Wood. I'm the director of Northwest Career Ready, and I'm here with my team from Terra State Community College, our college president, Dr. Schumacher, who introduced himself, and also Bill Taylor, our VP of Academic Affairs, our CFO, Jackie Foose, and our partnership in the Career Center, Vanguard Sentinel Career and Technical Center Superintendent Greg Ettinger. Our team worked together with the schools represented by Northwest Career Ready to really develop a whole child approach to credentialing, primarily in healthcare, construction, and manufacturing. So we have 2 things that are happening under our project. We have 6 schools who are participating in remotely earned credentials in elder care, Lean Six Sigma, and Rise Up. And we'll be working with those schools to provide technical assistance for evidence-based practices for student supports during remote learning, so that we're sure that those students will be successful in earning those credentials. And then we're taking Career Connections and Certified Production Technologies credentials and putting the knowledge portion online. So working with a university partner to transform those credentials, the knowledge portion, into an online format. And the second big piece of what we're doing is we are creating a senior-only credential program for our At Promise youth on the Terra State campus, complete with Terra State wraparound student supports and access to Terra State program activities. So things like the Fitness Loft, community service activities, bookstore, student activity center programming. So really trying to make a rich experience in credential programming for students that is appealing and inspirational and connects to the whole child.
Thank you so much. That's great. There's a lot there. So we've been trying to list any of the qualifying credentials that you all had placed in your applications on these fact sheets if you didn't get a chance to list them. So if you're listening for connections to your own work, also draw reference to these project summaries. Thanks, Amy. Okay, let's go to the Ohio After School Network and Perry Local Schools.
Hi, this is Betty Jo Malcheski, and we are partnering with 4 total school districts, including ourselves. That's Perry, Blanchester Local, Walnut Township, and Riverside Local. This is our first adventure where we have worked with 2 of our partners that are not even in our region. And it's been interesting to see our likeness as districts and what we can do together. We're pursuing 6 additional industry credentials. They are, with the Northeast Ohio being such a viable manufacturing area, we are definitely moving towards the MSCC production as well as NIMS. We have construction in our district that is a viable credential. We also in Northeast Ohio and really all across our state are very viable for hospital need and medical care. So we have lifted an STNA program for elder care in our district that we want to see expand. We'll also be pursuing a 3rd credential, which will be entrepreneurial small business. We're going to pursue Lean Six Sigma, and I think I mentioned NIMS. Rise Up, which will be an industry credential in hospitality and tourism, and OSHA. And again, I value this opportunity because I'm hearing some things today of partnerships such as Rich. I've taken note of what you're doing with Industry 4.0, and I think it has a lot to do with our career partners and what we want to do with manufacturing. So I truly benefit from opportunities quarterly that we can come together with ideas and build from each other.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm hearing even just the alignment of credentials with the Northwest Ready group too. It sounds like you all can really kind of swap and discuss ideas for implementing some of those. That's great. All right. OACTE and Pickaway Ross.
Okay, Kathy, this is Maggie with Ohio OAX, Ohio Association of Career Tech Superintendent. And I was able to finally get on. So we are the eligible entity. And of course, you've already heard from Dennis, and I think Nancy Luce, who's working with this on the project, is on the call too. But we're very excited because we are going to be launching the Smart Automation Certifications Industry 4.0 credential, which has been newly added to Ohio's credential list. And we are working with 6 career centers throughout the state, and each of those career centers will be then working with their sending school districts to design how they want to offer these credentials. Some of them will be through existing programs like our satellite programs that are already in existence. Some will be at the career center, and some are going to be new programming options for students. And our partners are the Ohio Manufacturing Association, and we're also working with Buckeye Educational Systems, and of course the SACA group, which is the Smart Automation Certification Alliance. And we look forward to being able to pilot these, and we hope that by, as a result of this grant, we will be able to expand the soccer credentials to all of our career centers as well as other districts throughout the state. But we just felt like our career centers were in a great position to pilot these new credentials and to expand and increase the number of students who are receiving industry credentials.
So great, and love to see the collaboration there. So thank you so much. That's awesome. All right. Let's go to OMJ Belmont County and East Central ESC.
Hi, this is Carrie Rosser. Our grant is going to help Belmont County. There's 7 school districts in Belmont County that are going to be a part of this. We hope to impact roughly 2,400 students by offering the opportunity for them to be credentialed in a lot of different areas. What we wanted to concentrate on were the credentials that can span any industry. So we can start maybe at younger grade levels so that the students that might go to the career center there have already started building their credentials so that they can get to 12 points. So we're going to be working through Lean Six Sigma, OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, and hopefully implement the Leadership Excellence credential as well. In addition to that, the area needs shows needs like with business credentials, manufacturing, healthcare, and so forth. So we also put in there AWS certifications, so welding, STNA is a big one. Rise Up is another credential that we're going to try to work with. And then Microsoft Office credentials are valuable for a lot of different areas. So this can even incorporate some of the upperclassmen as well, whether they're going to go to college or just go straight into the workforce, it'll be valuable to them. And we're working with Tech Prep, Building Bridges to Careers, and Ohio Means Jobs. Another big part of our grant is to bring awareness to school districts, to the community, to parents about the importance of the credentials and how it can be very valuable So, so that's kind of where we are with our project.
Thanks so much, Carrie. I think it'll be important too to examine the critical role that an Ohio Means Jobs County Center can play in some of this work. So appreciate the fact that you've brought some really unique partners together on that. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, now this is the last project summary sheet we have, but I know we have one other grantee on the line. So Ottawa County, you want to go ahead? They may have been the group that was missing early on in the call too, so we'll have to maybe catch up with them individually. Last call for Ottawa County. Okay, well, we'll catch up individually with them, but as you can see here, they're looking at some very, very similar credentials. They're looking at STNA, Rise Up, Leadership Excellence. So there really is some great opportunities for you all to network and learn from each other in implementing remote options for these credentials. Did we miss one group? Everybody got a chance to share? Okay.
I think we covered almost all of the questions in the chat box, but is there anyone that anything that we missed in the chat box, just in case?
So, as you move forward and you start getting your CCIP things that are underway and make sure that you've got everything locked and loaded to be able to draw down funds, also feel free to use this in the calendar invite is the contact information that's on the call here today of folks. So I love that Betty Jo mentioned that she was writing down names so that she can maybe contact afterwards. We would encourage you all to do the same. We really want to take this $1.6 million that you all are collectively receiving and have as many students as possible earn industry recognized credentials as a result of that, as long as it makes sense for that student's career pathway, I should caveat. So thank you all for that, and we're really excited about that.
We have about 5 minutes left, and I don't know if we addressed the question. Somebody had said they had a question specifically about industry recognized credentials. If anyone has any questions like that, we can stay on for a little while. It may be helpful for everyone to hear, but if you have to go, then please do so. But we'll hang on for a while, unless anybody has anything else to bring up.
Thanks everyone for joining today, and we'll hang on just in case there's some individual questions.
I was going to say, I think, so Maggie asked if we could put together a contact list for you. I have the contacts that were initially submitted with the applications. If there are additional people that probably are on the call from those organizations, I may not have their specific contact list or their contact information, but I can provide an initial list and make those initial contacts that way. So when I send out the PowerPoint, I can send out that list as well.
From Lori, we do not have a project summary showing. Did someone drop the ball and not send that to you?
I was going to say, I was missing one. So I only had 10 of 11. So if it's not there, that means I did not receive it.
Maybe we have two Loris, but Lori, I think you shared. Was it on the screen? Maybe we have two.
Yeah,
Loris.
There's a Lori. There are two Loris,
okay.
Actually.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So Lori Garrison.
Good memory, Cassandra.
Thank you. I was like, I know I said Lori. Lori from GLS, if you did not see yours, then that means we don't have it. But would you like to unmute and take 1 minute and kind of share with us what your plans are?
I was going to say, Andy can still submit that, and I will get an updated version posted. So.
Lori G, you want to give a 1 minute? Maybe it's okay if not.
Just a minute.
I'll take that as a no. Ryan is asking when the funds will be loaded into the CCIP.
So technically the allocations will be loaded tomorrow and available on Friday, but you cannot draw down any funds until the department approves the CCIP application, which means you have to upload the documents, you have to fill out the budget grid, and it has to go through the fiscal and superintendent or authorized representative approval. At that point, if Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point, then you can actually start submitting the PCRs and drawing down funds.
Yes, as soon as everything's approved, so the CCIP it needs the budget. It needs that budget grid approved in the CCIP so that when you complete your project cash request, it bounces against that budget.
And Lori said that she cannot unmute herself, and I cannot even unmute her, so I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Lori.
Sorry, Lori.
Please get me that project summary. Send it to that RemotEDx IRC email, and I will get an updated version posted as soon as I can.
And then Deanna asked a good question. Are we locked into the credentials we listed on our application, or if new opportunities arrive, can we add them? So your application was approved by a committee of, trained grant scorers based on what you submitted. So we're going to ask you to use the credentials that you submitted. If this grant enables you to offer above and beyond that, fantastic. But the monitoring and the pieces that we're holding you to will be what was in the grant application. So good question, Deanna. If this enables you to go above and beyond, great. But what was in the grant application is what we will be monitoring on.
Right.
Okay. Any other last minute questions?
And again, we'll stay on here for a little while longer as well if no one wants to speak up in front of everyone. So I think we can release folks. So please, you'll have a great rest of your day, and email us or chat us if you have any questions.